Now I gotta ride or die.
So guys, welcome back to the channel. Today you join me from the driver's seat of a 2016 Suzuki Swift Sport. Never driven this generation Suzuki Swift on the road, so I had to take this one out for a review. So make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, but onwards to the B roads. There we go, 5,000 RPM, lads. That's when she really gets going. Now, first things first, this is a 2016 134 brake horsepower, 1.6 litre Suzuki Swift Sport. Very desirable, I would say. I've just chatted to the owner, and you know, the amount of people around him and the amount of people he knows that have actually got these Suzuki Swift Sports is true testament to how good these cars are, just as an everyday car, but as a fun car as well. What we're going to do is we're going to take this down a really nice road, because I remember this being just a fantastic throwable car that I enjoyed around probably one of the best tracks, or if not road tracks, you know, the Nürburgring, you could ever put a car on. So I sort of know these cars in that way. This one is a completely standard one. Obviously the first one I'd ever driven of these was very track focused. This is a completely factory standard one. It is wearing these 17-inch wheels with some good sticky tyres on it. And in fact, as a factory car, this is a prime example as to why you would go for one of these, because just like the last video, feeding it in around corners and just driving it at, you know, a good amount of speed, a good rate, it rewards you straight away with a fantastic driving experience. You don't have to have loads of power and be going a million miles an hour to enjoy a little car like this. These are prime examples as to why you don't need to have loads of power in a little car, especially in the UK with B roads and stuff. This is exactly what you want. So I'm going to start with the interior. The interior is quite a big difference. Weirdly, from the last one I've driven, that one was around, you know, £2,000 you could pick one of those up for. This one you could pick up for around, you know, 2016 with 20,000 miles, it's around 9 grand. I do believe that is a pretty good deal for one of these, considering they're about 14 grand from the factory. It's not too much of a depreciating asset in that sense, because they're not a lot of money. You know, depending on how you spec stuff, yes, it will go up in price from the factory, but second hand, you know, 20,000 miles, 16 plate, you're looking around £8,000-9,000. That's the one we're driving today. The interior though is the next generation of the Suzuki Swift, and I must admit it is so much of a leap forward. It's quieter, it's more civilized in a way, it feels a lot newer. The steering wheel is really nice with all of the buttons on it. It's got, you know, the phone, Bluetooth and everything. You've got cruise control on the steering wheel as well in this one. It has a touch screen from the factory in front of you with, again, Bluetooth, SD, aux and DAB. Pretty much everything you could want in a relatively new hatchback. The covering those bases straight away is pretty much why people would go and buy one of these. It's spec'd really well from the factory, these cars. And again, there's loads of space in this. I'm always so impressed when I jump in some of these smaller cars where they've used the space and, you know, the fact it's small to their advantage and still created so much room in here. There's loads of space for your knees and your arms. And this is coming from someone that owns probably the biggest pickup truck in the actual world right now. Drivability is key though. If you are after something that is exciting to drive but has the amenities of a new car, this is prime territory for just a good naturally aspirated hot hatch that you can get yourself into. The newer ones are turbocharged now though, so the generation after this, which is what I would like to get into next and see what that's like, they're actually turbocharged on the newer generation. But again, this is the naturally aspirated 1.6 litre with 134 brake horsepower, and you can use all of that power. The VVTi, it does come in at around 5,000 RPM, so you really, in theory, need to kick this car's head in to enjoy it properly, which again is hugely rewarding, because you could just cruise around like we are right now. If you really wanted to drop yourself into basically a completely different car, all you need to do is rev this thing out. This is always in, you know, a good mode, in a sport mode, if you so wish. The funny thing is though, and I drive a lot of cars, and these are always just so poised from the factory, and like I said in the last video, these don't necessarily need modifying to be a fantastic little car. Yes, if you do wish to modify these, you can get not loads of power out of them, but you can get good exhaust notes. You lower them a bit, they look fantastic lowered with a bit of set of wheels and all that sort of stuff on them, but very expensive to actually modify as well. Another thing to point out, if you're going to get one of these and you want to modify it, most of the stuff is in Japan. You need to bring it over. Exhaust systems are quite expensive and, you know, relatively sought after for what they are, which is a very good talking point, because at the end of the day, if you're buying this to get loads of power out of it and modify straight away, you're going to be trumped with price and availability just on parts and stuff that you want to change on this thing. That's why I feel that the unspoken part of this car is that from the factory it is so good that yes, if you do modify it, you get a lot more out of it, but I don't feel like it needs it. And I'm a big fan of modifying cars, and I love modifying cars, but this is a prime example of a car that's just a really, really good factory standard little hatchback. I must admit, it's really the interior that's thrown me back, and the drive, it just feels a lot tighter, a lot newer in this one compared to the last one. Yes, there is a big price difference, and there should be for a relatively newer, nicer, lower mileage version of the car I've already driven. MPG wise, we're getting 46 MPG on this run today. Insurance wise, again, hit and miss on insurance, as I already say in most ownership reviews, but the owner of this car, you know, mid-20s say, is paying under £1,000 a year, you know, well under £1,000 a year for this little car. And servicing costs and stuff, I don't feel like you'll be really that worried about servicing this thing. They don't necessarily go wrong whatsoever. It's good because there's a huge rev range in these cars. That's probably the real talking point here, is the drivability is phenomenal. The cornering is, again, from a factory car, is so good, like really, really impressively good. And that rev range, what you've got to sort of play with, that naturally aspirated engine, yes, not loads of power, but I don't think you need loads of power. It's redlining at, you know, just over 7,000 RPM in this little car, and that's what you need to do. You need to use all that RPM to get the most out of this car, but it rewards you on the other side by just being a fun, revvable, chuckable little hatchback. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did like this style of video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Tell me in the comments below, would you buy one of these? Do you want me to shoot the newer variant of this car? And if you have a modified version of this car, hit me up, fydapparel.com. Send your car in to get it on the channel. But thank you so much for watching guys. See you on the next one.